Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bringing you guys a review for One Piece Chapter 1018. And Chapter 1018, this is good. This is good, man. So obviously we got a little bit of setup going on right here. The end of the chapter with the cliffhanger. Jinbe with that big dick energy where my man's like, yo, when you're talking about history, you better be prepared what you get ready to walk into. So looks like we got a trip down memory lane coming, and I'm all for it. That's some of my favorite parts in One Piece is when we start getting more of the lore expansion. One Piece is probably one of those series that when it comes to just the depth of the characters in the world, it's untouched. It's untouched out of anything I've read and shown in so far. But I gotta back up a little bit. So at the inside of the castle, we get the revelation that essentially the numbers have changed. And so now it's 16,000 versus 9,000. And we're in a situation where the change in battle tide is shifting so much that we're about to really see what Luffy and them can do as they start gaining more and more allies. And I like what we're seeing right here. I really like this because it kind of just shows how big of a threat Kaido and Big Mom in this alliance is. I like that. And it just kind of really does a lot to get them over as well as get over the progress of the Straw Hats. And you have this moment where Zeus tries to make good with Nami. He's like, can I be your servant again? And at first when Nami said absolutely not, I was like, yeah, that's my bitch right there. You do what you gotta do. But then when she winked at this motherfucker and said, how about sidekick? I got ready to jump through the fucking screen and say, Zeus, I'm about to kick the fuck out of your ass. I don't know if a cloud can be kicked. I was ready to kick the cloud, goddammit. Yo, man, look, we going to war over Nami in this motherfucker. But on some real shit, though, like, what I like here is that we also get the revelation that essentially the powers that be that are watching all of the fallout from the battle, they're basically saying, like, hey, when Jinbe finishes up his battle with Hoo-Hoo, we're going to jump in and make sure this motherfucker is dead. Because it is a bad look if we allow him to get out. Now, when it comes to one side or the other, it is what it is. We don't really care who wins and who loses, but there's one death that we have to absolutely make sure, but we don't know if he's going to survive his battle with Jinbe. So I like that you get that ominous foreshadowing right there. And what I also like about this is that when Jinbe's doing this battle, Jinbe, as he's talking to Who's Who, they have this moment where he's like, look, man, Shanks stole the gum fruit from us. Luffy ended up eating it. Luffy has the hat. And it's like, okay, so it's like one of those the sins of the father type situation where, like, because Luffy was closely associated with Shanks and because he has Shanks' hat, it's just one of those things where the man's just going to get got off of association. I'm fine with that. But when Who's Who is shooting out all those attacks at Jinbe, Jinbe is getting out the way of the attacks and Jinbe's using his armament hockey, and Jinbe is putting up one hell of a fight. And like the way that this battle is going, and you see Jinbe just ramping it up as the battle begins to escalate. And you see how it really feels like, in my opinion, that Jinbe was still in control despite the ferocious nature of the person he's fighting. I think that this does a lot for him. And what I like here is that when Jinbe is hearing the story about what Who's Who heard in jail, he's talking about how when he was undergoing those terrible torments that were happening in the prison, he used to hear about how there was a figure that the slaves would pray to in the distant past, a legendary warrior who will one day free them, the Sun God Nika. And what you end up seeing here is that once Jinbe hears this, Jinbe just has an expression, and you know that Jinbe knows exactly who that is. And as the battle begins to ramp up, Jinbe is just continued to be drawn, showing more and more recognition. And when Who's Who says, you're part of the Sun Pirates, you led the Sun Pirates, there are former slaves in that crew, can't you tell me the history when it comes to that slavery? And what I like here is that this comes after Jinbe is saying, like, hey, you made all those racist jokes about fishmen. Don't you know that those racist insults are played out right now? And when Jinbe finally is in a situation where he's ready to ramp it up, the man just catches his arms and stops him right there on the spot And that's when we get the revelation that Jinbe was using the Fishman's secret art, and Jinbe just snaps all of a sudden and uses the demon brick fist, and he says, be ready for what you're stepping into first when it comes to asking about history. And what I like right here is that the way that this page spread is drawn, artistically, this was such a beautiful decision because the majority of the page spread is based off of Jinbe's impact shot. And between the contrasting and the shading, the way that you got the speed lines and the way that you got the sound waves, very, very well done, just to see how Oda put a lot of effort into that. And like the way that you have all the panels in the L-shaped fashion, showing the reactions and showing the actions and showing the fallout of this. And you end the page off with Jinbe's expression, and he's got the doom sound effects and the way that his eyes are shaded out. It's really letting you know that Jinbe really means business right here. I gotta say, this is one of those things where Oda clearly was setting up a bigger end game, but we needed to get to this chapter here. And I feel like the dynamic between these two characters, there's gonna be a little bit more that's gonna make this fight, when you go back and reread it, there's gonna be more significance to it. However, what I want to know from you guys is my chapter question is, when you were reading this for the first time, why do you think the Sun God Nika got under Jinbe's skin so much when he heard it? Let me know down in the comment section below, but as always, guys, like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.